Hi friends, welcome to my channel on Flutter development. In today's video, we'll be talking about navigation and routing in a Flutter app. So what we'll be doing in this tutorial, we'll have like two pages. One is the listing page and another is the detail pages for that listing for each item. And we will be showing the navigation using three different techniques. So as you can see, here's a push and push named. So that's like the gist of the whole thing. But we'll see how this is being implemented in this article. So this article has two parts to it. One is the main parts are user interface, like very basic user interface. One page has a listing of 3 items, which is hardwired items, and the details page will show the details of that particular selected items. And the next part is the navigation. In navigation, like when you click on a list item in the first page, it will open that item into the detail page, and that's something is called sending data from page listing to page details. And the item object is the one which is a model that will be creating, will be transferred or will be passed along to the target page. And then is one more thing we'll be discussing is receiving data, like how will we receive data from that page details and pass it to the our page listing page. So that's something we'll be using, we'll be doing by a navigator.pop method, and we'll send the details to the status message from page details to the page listing page. All right, so now first building interface section of this. So as you can see, this is our interface. So what it has an app bar, and this is where it has unnamed routes, as you say. So this is the type of routing we have used. So the app bar that will be populated, and it has the 3 list items, as you can see, and it's a very simple items. It's like actually the hardwired in the in the sample code, and for each each, as you say, an unnamed route, each type of routing will be done in a separate file, and the source code is at the below of this article. And yes, so you can check it out if you want to check out everything from GitHub. All right, so now these items that we are showing, this is how we have it in the so these are the hardwired items. So we call seaside list. It's my item list, and I have an item object of item class type, and it has a name, image, and details. So the name is C1 and C2, C3. I have few assets in there where I have different images of sea or ocean seaside, and I have simple details to it, like a ocean view for C1, C2, C3. Nothing fancy here. Okay, and now to create this page listing, this is the code. We are doing it as I told you in the app bar. We will be using the what kind of routing we are showing here, what kind of navigation we are showing here will be populated here. And we are using a simple list view builder here, and we are going over this list that we just saw, and we'll build upon and we'll build it. So that's pretty simple. But the part we are will be focusing in this code recipe is the navigate to page details function or method in here. So this method, what it does, it takes the item to pass it to the next page, so that we can pass it to the next detail page to display the details, and takes the results from the displayed page and show it in a snack bar right here. So again, this is the result from page details, and here is something that we are getting the result from the details page. Will display that message right here. So as you can see in the to do, so right now there's nothing assigned to it. So you can see, like a navigation implementation are actually discussed in upcoming. We'll be using 3 different implementation to fetch the results from the page details page, the details page. Okay, so now page details screen. So page details screen is very simple. It has the here the app bar which says which item is selected, and it has like an image in the middle, and simple details like what the description was, and this favorite button right here. So when you click this favorite button, it will send the message back to the page listing which says like, hey, this list item is marked as favorite. So let's see the implementation for page details. And it's so first thing is final item. This is an item object. I will show in a bit the class for item class. And what it does, it has a page list, page details, and it uses the key and the item basically is passed from the page listing widget. And you can see it's a stateless widget because we are not doing anything with we are not changing and managing state of this widget. We are simply getting the data and we are displaying it. So that's why we are using the stateless widget for this. And now first thing we are displaying the item name in it, and then in the middle is a column. It's a simple column, like body is like a column, and here's an image, here's a text, and on top of it there's a floating action button. So as you can see, column, there's a 2 children to it, and it has a 1 image and 1 text right here, and this simply is setting the size and the style for it. All right, now the floating action button is right here, so what we did is right here is on pressed. So we are using navigator pop method to do that, the pop method of navigator class. What it does and we are passing a message, like we know we are clicking on the favorite button, that means it has been marked as favorite. So this is the message we are passing, or we want to pass back to the page listing screen. And this is the item which is dynamic, which changes depending on what item is being selected. So this is what the method is responsible for sending the message back to the calling interface, calling page listing screen. All right, now this is the data model for the item object, item class. It has a name, image, and details. It's very simple. All right, so now to the main part of this whole video, navigation. So there's a 3 type of navigation. One is the direct navigation, and so what direct navigation is, it's implemented using actually something called material page route, and this type of navigation is also called as unnamed routing because we don't define any name to it. We use this widget, material page widget, so we can take a quick look in that. So this is actually a model route that replaces the entire screen with platform adaptive transition. So that's what the description says. So basically it's a page, it's a page that can create a interface to it. So this widget is used to create an interface, full screens, like a full screen page. So this is the widget we use for this to create a new route, and we use builder function of this material page routes builder function to create the content of that particular page. Okay, and the next one is the static navigation. In static navigation, what we do, we use the map of the routes, and we use material apps routes property to assign that map. So that's how we provide the mapping of the routes. Now how we'll call that route is by using navigator.push named. By the way, for the direct navigation we use navigator.push, and for static navigation we use navigator.push name because it's a type of named routing. All right, the third type of routing is dynamic navigation. So in this navigation, the routes are generated using a function, a callback function, and we assign that callback function to the onGenerateRoute property of material app class. And again, this is a named routing as well. So we use navigator.push name to push the routes on the navigator. All right, so let's see the implementation and how the flow of this navigation. So for the direct navigation, which is also known as unnamed routing, it's implemented using material page route, And so what happens, like when I click here on the item, so my this page, the page detail is pushed to the navigator, so that goes on top of it. And now what we do here, so the in this code recipe, the interface we'll be designing is this. So clicking on item list, it will take to the view, detail view, and when we click on the favorite, it will go back to the first screen. Basically it will pop this whole screen out of the navigator stack and will show this message. As you can see, C1 is marked as favorite. So the same thing we'll be doing using the three ways. One is unnamed routing, direct routing, static routing, and dynamic routing. So the one point I want to focus is how we push the pages or routes to the navigator, and how we how we assign in the entry points, like how they are different, like their setup, how it looks different. Okay, so for the entry point, for the direct routing, the entry point is simple. You have home page and you have page listing. There's nothing fancy here. And when you want to call the method, call the page details, you simply push that route to the navigator. So let's see, what does that mean? So we are sending the so we are using the material page route, and we are using builder method of this to create the content to the route or the page, or which can be so actually we are building this content of this page using the builder function for the material page route. And what we are doing extra here is we are passing the data. We are passing like the item object right here along with it. So why we need it? If we don't have this item object, we don't know what information to show on page details. So it's important in this case to show the item information, to pass the item which is being selected as the first list, like here. That's why we have to send it. Otherwise, really, there's no point in enough navigation here. Okay, so now receiving data. So as we said, navigator pushes the data, and what navigator push does, it actually returns a future object, and which completes when the navigator pop on the page detail screens returns and it finishes. So what does it mean? Let's see in this the implementation of direct navigation of navigate to page details method. So in here it was blank earlier, and now we have an implementation, our first implementation, which is highlighted here. So first thing, we use await here, and because we are using await, that's why we have to use async. So what await is, it's like asynchronous operation, and which is not holding the process, the execution. It's executing asynchronously, that's what it means. And when it push the material route on the stack, so as you can see, the material route that we created is being pushed on the navigator stack. And so far it's so good. Now what this does is, it of course definitely opens the view for the detail page. That's great, right? But now what happens, so I clicked on here and this screen is open. That's what is being done. So what is this await is for? And what is this, how this is being passed back? So what it does, it uses, so as we saw in the navigator pop, pops this message or passes this message with the navigator.pop, right? So this goes back, and that's the reason we are using await keyword, because we don't want to hold the whole screen, we don't want to freeze the screen. We want to make it as asynchronous. Like we clicked on it, we see this data, and while this first screen is still waiting of this result to come back. That's why we are using the await and async, all that asynchronous feature of the Dart language right here. So this navigator push returns the future object, and it fetches the data which is sent by navigator.pop. which is right here. In case you need little reference here, which is right here, navigator.pop. So basically it sends this message back to the page listing, and which is displayed. So now whenever that message is available, so when you pop out, when you come back using navigator pop, you come back to first screen and you show that message to the using snack bar. And in snack bar you are actually removing if there's any current snack bar there, so that we know there's only one snack bar is shown at a given time. All right, so that was all about the direct navigation. Now the static navigation. So as we said, in the static navigation we give a map of routes or pages and screens, and that needs to be handled in that app, that the pages and screen we want to show. So we create a kind of map of routes, and we use navigator or push name for calling those page. Okay, so what we do is, let's dive into the, so it looks the very same, everything is same, you would not see any difference from the user experience wise. So look here. So right now what we did, we created this routes. So routes is a map, and it has two entries. One is the, you can see /, and what it's doing, it's actually creating my home page, right? And you have a choice here. You can either do it home with using home property, or you can use the /. So the / is used by default as representation for the home page, and now the details /details is actually representing the alias for my page details. So anytime if I say /details, it actually will open my page details. And as you see, the item is passed right here while it's here. But now you might notice one thing. I'm at my top level of the code, which is in the run app, and somewhere here is my list. Right here is above there, you can see in the code file. So I have to basically I can only open one item. So every time my seaside one will be open, whatever, irrespective of 2 or 3 I select, but it will be one by, because it's at the top level, right? So that's why it says static routing. So what does that mean? If I have my logic for the authentication, it might work better, because I'm maybe authenticating that app maybe for once, may not be true always, and I'm good with that, and so that would work. But where it's dynamic, like here, like where we have to update or show the next page details using the selection of a current item, this approach may not work. But let's see it, how it's being implemented. So to call the page, we call push name, and we put the /details, which is a route, on the stack, on the navigator stack. Okay, so again, this is the sending data. I'm explaining again this thing, and the receiving data stays the same. There's no change in there. So let's see, what is changed here is this, is right here. So looks like I changed the variable name here, which doesn't really make a much difference, but just a point to be aware of. Okay, and so here you see the push name I've used, and I've used /details. So what happens, like /details, when it's called, so we now the /details is actually, it will open this page details. So that is what is happening, but it's always opening the first items page details. All right, so that takes us to the dynamic navigation now. So let's see dynamic navigation, what it is. So dynamic navigation solves this problem. So what it does, it uses something called onGenerateRoute property of material class to assign a function, actually a callback function, say generate route. So this generate route does the all handling of like which path needs to be shown. Again, this is the flow looks exactly the same, and so the entry point, let's see the entry point, how it changes. So home, we need to provide home property for this, and the initial route is a new property that we can use, and we can show basically what page to be shown as the first when the app is starting. So that is what it's for. And on generate route is the property that actually takes this callback function or a handler function for the route, or you can also say a route handler. So this is not a keyword or something like that. It's totally created by me. You can rename it to something else what you might feel appropriate. Could be a handler, route handler method function. And so what it does is it returns a route. So route is nothing but like a page. So it's more like abstraction that's used by the navigator class route for the pages, but it's technically are the pages, and which uses something called route setting. So route setting is something is useful in like passing around these route names and arguments. So what is arguments means? Arguments is something, the data that you can pass like item. So how it really pass the data. So we'll see in a bit like how you can pass the data, but let's see how it handles the data, the argument. So first thing, it can simply call route setting dot argument, and another thing, it can use route setting dot name to see the name of that particular route. So as we saw, the forward slash is the home page, so it's simply you can call the page listing. In slash details is actually the page details, and as you can see the args here, we are checking if it's an item type, only then you pass it to the page details, otherwise say page is not found. And in the default, like when none of these case match is found, it simply says page is not found. So page not found is a widget or a interface that we just created, a simple interface that simply says the page is not found, like the data is not found. All right, so now let's see how it's being called, like how these arguments are passed. So again, we are using push name, and this navigation is also a named routing, and we are using the route name, which is slash details, and we are passing arguments here. So this is where the route settings gets its data from. So it gets the details, the name, and the arguments from here, and as simple as we are passing the item here. Receiving data stays same. The only thing we are changing is like how we are pushing the page to the stack or to the navigator. So we are doing the slash details and we are passing the argument. And now this is the last one, is the page not found, which is simply a scaffold, an app bar which has page not found, and body says page is not available for now. Yeah, so that's pretty much was there for this code recipe, and the source code is right here. I would like to bring your attention here. So the source code for direct navigation is right here, so it's in GitHub. I created like a different file, so you can simply run it. So if you want to check out the unnamed routing or the direct routing, so it has the run app. So you can simply actually copy paste this data to any your IDE or the Dart file. However, you may want to also copy the dependent class like the page details right here. So this class doesn't have page details. Let me show you this directory. So it's in here in the navigation directory, and it has item dart, not page not found, page details, and the page list _1 is for the unnamed routing for direct navigation. 2 is for static, and the page 3 is for dynamic routing, as we saw here. So it's right here. So it takes you to page list 2, and this will take you to page list 3. And yeah, and also this is here, the link to the Flutter cookbooks project source code is available here. So it has all the other examples as well, and if you run it, I have connected the navigation only for the direct navigation in this app. But if you want to run these separately, you can run it just by these files. These all 3 files are independent, and the references are push and the metal page route and the push name that you may want to read more about. Yeah, so that's pretty much was there for this video, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.